Have you ever stepped into a small home and immediately felt your heart calm down? Not because the house was beautiful or luxurious, but because every corner was tidy, clean, and warm. As if the place had always been waiting for you to return. Today, I want to share with you a true story about an elderly Japanese woman living in America and 7 quiet habits that help her keep her home neat without feeling tired, burdened, or needing help every day. If you've ever wondered why Japan's homes always seem tidy, if you've ever wished you could keep your home lighter and life simpler, or if you've ever thought aging means losing the strength to clean up, then this video might completely change the way you see things. Because the woman I'm about to tell you about is 80 years old, lives alone in the American suburbs, and still maintains her home as neat as a worn cup tea from her old hometown in Kyoto. What you're about to hear includes 7 very down-to-earth habits, such as giving every item a designated place, completing small tasks promptly, keeping only what matters, defining clear space boundaries, cleaning for just 5 minutes a day, preparing for tomorrow the night before, and being grateful for every item in your home. I'm not sharing this to compare Japan and America, but so that we can realize one thing together, that seniors everywhere are more alike than different. We all need space to breathe, to live, and to feel that we still have control over everyday lives. What I love most about this story is that it doesn't ask you to change everything. You only need to start with one small thing. If you find this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It gives us motivation to keep bringing you some clean, practical cleaning habits, and what if each little tip will help your days feel lighter and more peaceful. Thank you for being here. Now, let's move on to the first habit. Habit 1. Every item has its place. The moment I walked into Noriko's home, I felt something strange in the best way. Nothing was out of place, and nothing was extra. Every item seemed to be exactly where it belonged. The remote control was neatly placed on the coffee table, her slippers pointed toward the door, and the towel was folded and centered perfectly on the shelf. I asked her if she spent a lot of time arranging things every day. She smiled and said, "No, I don't tidy up. I just bring everything back home." It sounded simple, but I knew it was a habit built over many years. I thought of myself, how often I'd set up on the windowsill, throw a coat over a chair, and later search the whole house because I couldn't remember where I left things. Small actions repeated daily create clutter, but Nora was different. She never allowed anything to wander. Every item she used had a place to return to. She said, just like people, things need a place to belong. I began thinking about my own home, where the remote could be in 3 different places, where the keys sometimes ended up in the kitchen, sometimes in an old coat, and where I once spent an entire morning looking for one medical paper. She didn't say anything profound, but by simply living her quiet way, I realized a tidy home begins with clarity in every small action. When every item has a place, the home isn't chaotic, and neither are we. I tried this myself, starting with placing the remote back in the same spot after each use. Just that one small action made my mind feel lighter. No more searching, no more forgetting, no more frustration. I understood then that being organized doesn't come from constant cleaning, but from not letting things go astray in the first place. Habit 2. If it takes less than a minute, do it now. While we were talking, I saw Naro stand up to pour some more tea, and before sitting down again, she picked up a cloth and wiped the table. Just one small drop of tea. But she didn't let it sit there for more than a few seconds. I asked her why she didn't just wait and clean everything later. She said if something takes less than a minute, it's best to do it right away. She didn't say that as a rule, but as something deeply ingrained in her daily life. I remembered myself how many times I saw a dirty cup, but left it there thinking I'd wash it later. Then the cup stayed there all day, then another one, and soon it became a pile. Small tasks when delayed build an invisible pressure, she said. I don't like having unfinished things in my home. I do each own gently finish it and move on, not just to keep the house clean, but to keep my mind clear. I knew that feeling well because I've gone to bed frustrated just from a few small tasks I hadn't tea with, and by morning I'd forgotten them, but still woke up with a heavy mind. Noro doesn't wait for motivation. She just does things immediately and simply and then lets them go. That's why nothing builds up in her home. And she doesn't carry her on a mental to-do list. I learned that sometimes just 1 minute off action can prevent a whole day of procrastination. Habit 3: keep less, but choose wisely. I noticed that Noriko's kitchen had nothing extra. One pot, one pan, two bowls, two pairs of chopsticks. The fridge was neat. No old sauce bottles or wilted vegetables. I asked why she didn't store more for convenience. She said, I only keep what I use. I used to have more, but I chose to live with what I use every day, not what I'm saving just in case. I felt a little tug inside because I had held onto so many things just because I didn't want to waste them. A juicer used only once, an old set of dishes I never liked, but kept because someone gave them to me. Nico didn't keep things out of obligation. She kept them because they were useful in her present life. I began to open my cabinets and ask myself, do I use this? Does it make me feel at ease? And if not, am I willing to let it go? I didn't have to throw everything out, but just asking those questions made me see things. She said, keeping things is also keeping part of your mind. If we hold on to too much, there's no room left for lightness. A home with fewer items isn't lacking. It's simply enough. And if you've ever wondered why some older people always seem to have tidy homes, homes that feel bright and peaceful, and make you want to stay a little longer, you might enjoy the video 10 Secrets to Keep Your Home Always Organized, which you can find at the top right corner of the screen or in the description below. That's where I share the quiet tricks that many tidy seniors use every day. No heavy lifting, no need to buy anything new, just knowing where to start. And you may be surprised to see that sometimes one small change is enough to calm both your home and your mind. Now, I want to tell you about another gentle thing I learned during those quiet evenings in her home. A simple habit that helps Noro end each day with peace and order. Habit 4: 5 minutes each night before bed. That evening, after we finished our tea, I was about to say goodbye when Noriko asked me to wait a moment while she tidied up the kitchen. I thought it would take a while, but no, she took exactly 5 minutes. She put that tray of sacks back into the cupboard, washed the teacups, and set them on the rack, wiped the table, and straightened the chairs. Everything went back into place, not too slowly, not rushed either. When she finished, she smiled and said, now my day is complete. I asked if she did that every night. She nodded and said, I don't wait for the house to get messy to clean. I just do a little each day, like saying a soft goodbye to today. I stayed quiet for a moment and looked at myself. I had gotten used to leaving things as they were and telling myself I'd clean tomorrow. Then I'd wake up to a messy kitchen, crumbs on the table, and a chair with a towel still draped over it. I began the new day in yesterday's clutter, but Noriko was different. She always ended her day with 5 minutes off tidying, not to make everything spotless, not to be perfect, but just to bring things back to order, so that the next morning when she opened her eyes, the space was ready, peaceful, and waiting for her. I wondered if I could do the same. Just 5 minutes. How would my mind feel? I used to say I didn't have time to clean, but in truth, I was spending hours each week dealing with chaos. I created chaos that wouldn't exist if I had just done a little every night. As seniors, we often feel too weak to clean much, but 5 minutes is something we can all do. One clean table, one washed cup, one pair of slippers was placed neatly. Those things didn't take much effort, but they give back a feeling to start the next day. Since then, I've tried, before going to bed, I choose 3 small things: wipe the counter, wash the cup, and straighten the chair. And I've noticed I lead better. Not because the house is cleaner, but because my mind is holding on to unfinished tasks. My house is still old and small, but inside me there's now a little space to breathe. And in the morning, I feel like my life is still on track, one small step at a time. Habit 5. Give each area a clear purpose. I noticed something interesting as I walked around Narrow's home. Each space had a clear role: the dining table wasn't for meals. No books piled up, no letters or phones placed there. The living room corner had one armchair, one tea table, and a few small books neatly stacked on a shelf. Nothing extra, nothing out of place. I asked her why she didn't add another chair for guests or a small cabinet to store more things. She said, "Because I don't want to mix everything. Eating is eating. Reading is reading. Resting is resting." Each area helps me focus on one thing without being pulled into others. It sounded simple, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. In my own home, I was used to eating on sofa while watching TV, placing mail on the dining table, using the kitchen counter for my laptop, then complaining that the house felt too small. But the problem wasn't space. It was the function getting mixed up. When everything blends, the space no longer serves us. We become part of the clutter. Nora didn't work in her living room, didn't read in the kitchen, and never slept on the couch. She said our bodies need to be reminded this is where we rest. This is where we eat. This is where we sit in peace. That not only helped her keep the house in it, but it also helped her mind stay clear and calm. I thought about my older friends. Some said they couldn't sleep well. Some said their homes were a mess and they didn't know where to start. Maybe the first step isn't putting things away, but giving each space its rightful purpose. Let the dining table be for meals again. Don't place your laptop next to the stove. Don't pile boxes near the front door. Just doing that can make a difference. I tried, and when the space was arranged by purpose, the day felt smoother too. My home didn't get bigger, but it started to feel lighter now because every corner had its voice, its job, and they no longer push into each other. And if you're still here with me at this point, I want to say thank you. These stories aren't meant to teach, just to remind us that even as we grow older, we can still realign our lives in small ways, starting right at home. If you find these habits helpful, please leave a comment. I'd love to know you're there walking with me through this quiet path of tidiness, one day at a time. Habit 6. Prepare for tomorrow, starting tonight, before going to bed. Noriko always spent 10 minutes on a quiet little ritual. She picked out clothes for the next day, placed a handkerchief on the chair, cleaned the kitchen, checked the doors, and set a glass of water by her bedside. I asked if all that preparation was really necessary. She said, "Morning is when the mind gets most confused, so I clear a path for myself the night before." Hearing that made me feel embarrassed, because there were mornings when I tore through my closet, looking for clothes, looking for keys, and spent the whole day chasing after that rush. She wasn't rushing and she wasn't lazy. She just lived with structure, and that didn't make her tired. It helped her stay rested. I started doing the same, beginning with a water bottle and folding my shirt in the evening. That feeling of waking up without having to ask what to wear, but just stepping into the day with everything ready, was truly comforting. Not because I did more, but because I had fewer little decisions to make. Nora taught me that preparation is a form of self-care, and people like us growing older should live with intention, even in the smallest things. Habit 7. Be grateful for every item. After our last cup of tea, I saw Nora wash the cup, dry it, and before placing it back on the shelf, she pressed her hands together gently. I asked what she was doing. She said, "Thanking the cup for serving me today." That simple answer stopped me. In her home, every item was cared for, not because it was expensive, but because she lived with gratitude for even the smallest things. She said, "I once lived with very little, So I learned to appreciate, not hoard, only keep what use, and always thank those things. It thought about my own home, how many tens I've kept out of guilt, out of fear I might need them later, or because it felt wasteful to let them go, but I had never thanked a single thing. Shedded every time before putting it down. I realized her tidiness didn't come only from being diligent, but from kindness, not just to people, but to objects too. And I believe that's why her home, though small, felt warm. Though simple, felt enough. Though old, never felt sad. I want to say the 7 habits once more. 1. Always return every item to its place. 2. Do anything that takes under a minute right away. 3. Keep less, but choose wisely. 4. 5 minutes of light tidying each night. 5. Every space has a purpose. 6. Prepare for tomorrow tonight. 7. Be grateful for every item that walks with you in life. These 7 things don't require strength, don't require money, only a small shift in how we live. Whether Japanese or American, I believe seniors everywhere are the same. They keep trying to live lighter, brighter, and more meaningfully, even as their steps slow down, even as their energy fades. I hope you find something of yourself in any of these lessons today. If you found this content helpful, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment so I know you're there. Thank you for staying with to the end of this journey. Your presence is a true gift. Wishing you health and a life of ease in your own peaceful home.